listen up, y'all. It's the queen of automation, Meghan Donnelly, here to give you inspiration. Founders and business owners gather round. I'ma show you how to build systems that'll astound. Streamline your processes, no need for complication.
Hey everybody, welcome back to the Queen of Automation podcast, where we talk about why technology is only good when it works and how I help you make it work. Today, we're here with Tom Clement. He has been in the business world for over 22 years. He focuses on leadership systems, time management, business model strategies. He's also a business professor and entrepreneurship professor. So I'm super excited to introduce him to all of you. Say hi, Tom. Tell everybody where you're calling in from, and obviously introduce yourself and what you're all about, because I found your content on LinkedIn super exciting, which is why you're here. He's just very cool. The stuff that he puts out on LinkedIn and this content is awesome.
Well, likewise, I enjoy your content as well. I am joining you from, as the locals would say, Casa Grande, as all the non-locals would say, Casa Grande, Arizona, which is, they always say it's about halfway between Phoenix and Tucson, but we're right south of the Phoenix metro area. Recently moved down here from Minnesota, so closer to where you're at right now, Megan. I've been. What's that?
So you moved away? Why? You don't like negative 25-degree wind chill? Come on.
There's other reasons too. We have grandkids down here and other families, so it was it was not a hard decision to make. Let's put it that way.
I was going to say, it's pretty easy. Grandkids, warm weather.
Yeah, I'm kind of an odd cat. I started off in a very blue collar small business family. My father was in the contracting business, and my first startup out of college was a motorcycle dealership. So I sold power sports equipment, snowmobiles and ATVs and motorcycles, and then I sold that venture. And I did not have a business undergraduate degree, so I went back to get my MBA. And like a semester into that, they asked me to teach a class, which I'd never really thought of myself as a teacher. But when you're a business owner, you're kind of a teacher because you're training and trying to show your employees what to do and all those sorts of things. And I started teaching and I really enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun with it. And so that just kind of grew into a now 22-year academic career. I'm not very academic. I'm still pretty blue collar at heart. But I've gone through the 4-year university type experience, and now I'm actually working at a 2-year community college and really, really enjoying it. And I work with prisoners that are incarcerated in the Arizona Department of Corrections, there's a special program for them where they can earn an associate's degree in business. And so that's been awesome. It's a really interesting experience. And, you know, whether you support that sort of thing or not, the recidivism rates are just crazy. Like the repeat offender rates, they go from like 60% down to like 20 when you get these folks some education and a degree. And, you know, it's been
hope.
Yeah, right? It is.
Hope.
And it
giving them hope that they can do something, that they can better their lives. I think that sounds amazing. Like, why wouldn't you want to provide that? That sounds awesome. That's very cool.
Yeah, and it's all online. So I teach 90% online. I have my one live class this afternoon, actually, of the week, and that's not to prisoners. That's just to regular community college students. But so it's been a nice lifestyle change. I work from home mainly, as you can see with my guitars hanging behind me, and it's been a good point in my life to do this. I'm 53 years old, almost 54. So I'm kind of at that phase where I'm.
This is a great segue into what we were talking about in the green room. We were talking about, I was explaining to Tom how we always like to talk to our guests about work-life balance. And I always start by saying, I don't believe in work-life balance. I think you have one life. You can't really separate work and life. Like it's all the same, right? You can work on work and work on, or, you know, do personal things or work things or whatever, but it's still one life. And so I always talk to my audience, and I know you have been following my content for a while, so I'm not going to say anything that you have not already heard me say. Life goals. Stop trying to build a business or a career. Build a life. It doesn't matter what you do, whether you're an entrepreneur or you work for somebody else, or you're a teacher or you're a bus driver, or you're picking up trash. It doesn't matter what you do as long as it supports your life goals. And you're creating life goals for yourself, and everything that you do then leads to those goals. You want to have kids, you want them to go to college, you want grandkids, whatever it may be. You want to move near your grandkids, you want to live on the beach, you want to buy a new car. That's a life goal, and then you do everything to get there, right? This whole like work-life balance thing, it's just so strange to me this day and age, like now, because for me, I don't like dread Mondays. I don't like look forward to Fridays, because you know what? When my weekend is when I want my weekend to be. I've built
Yeah,
my business, my career around, like, if I want to take off Wednesday and Thursday, I'm taking off Wednesday and Thursday, right? Like 4-day work weeks, whatever it may be. I would love, you were talking when we were in the green room, and I really want you to tell everybody what you were saying, because it's 100% accurate. In my opinion, it's 100% accurate. And obviously, basically, the gist of it is you do you. Like, if you don't listen, if you don't agree with what Tom and I are saying, fine. You don't have to go do you, and we'll be okay. Like, it's fine.
well, and I think there's a lot of fallacies out there that have become labels, and they're convenient and they're very marketable. And I think work-life balance is one of those things. And again, that's just my opinion. And there's people out there that I probably really annoy when I say that. But whenever I picture work-life balance, I sort of picture a guy or a gal in a business suit with a laptop in one hand and their baby in another, in a coffee mug, and it's like so ridiculous. And we were talking about, I'm not a super religious person. I would say I'm spiritual, but not religious. I believe in higher beings and things like that, but I'm not quite sure what exactly that looks like. But one of the things about religion that I do respect is the work is life and life is work. It's all part of one package.
Yeah.
We don't compartmentalize it and try to separate the two things out and then balance them. What you do as your work is a mark of your life. And I often talk about this, and you're in Wisconsin right now. There's a little town in Wisconsin, I don't know how little it is anymore, called Kohler, Wisconsin. And it's right next to the Kohler Plumbing company headquarters factory. And that was built as a company town. I mean, can you imagine that? A company town. They wanted their worker to form a community around the company and live there. There's other towns like that as well, all over the United States, that were formed as, factory towns, company towns, whatever you want to call them. And that's such a foreign concept today, that sense of loyalty and where your life, and it's not really loyalty to a company, it's loyalty to doing something for the good of humanity, whether that's humanitarian in nature or work in nature. And I think that's really what we sort of lost.
Before we move, I have a super funny story. I cannot even believe that that's the town you picked, because you're gonna laugh at this. So I grew up in a extremely small town in Vermont. Okay, so like when you look at, here's Vermont, here's New Hampshire, here's Massachusetts, right in the little corner, there's a little town called Vernon, Vermont. And Vernon, Vermont, for the longest time, was one of the only towns to have a nuclear power plant in it. My dad was a nuclear engineer in the Navy, and he went to work here, and the power plant funded the entire town, because you live in a town next to a nuclear reactor, and there's a lot of repercussions that could happen, like the ifs. But we had the most amazing school district. We had the most amazing, like Olympic size swimming pool and diving area and parks. And it was just a little itty bitty town, and the taxes were so low because the nuclear power plant paid for everything. And so, granted, that's a little different than the Kohler situation, but similar in the sense that they knew, right? Like they knew, like, well, we're putting a nuclear reactor here, so we know the risks that you're taking by living here. So we're going to make your life that much better by living here, and we're going to pay for as much as possible, because you're taking a risk living by this thing that if it blows up, we will go into what happens if it blows up, right?
Right.
So it was just super funny that you picked that town, because I had never thought about that before up until the last probably 5 or 6 years about how that's exactly what they were doing. That's exactly what they were doing. They were making the lives of the families and the kids that not only worked at the power plant, but those of, the people that were living there before it was there. And it's a very cool.
Well, I mean, and there's others. There's Bethlehem, Pennsylvania, and there's Bessemer, Michigan, and there's all these different things that were sort of built around. They maybe weren't named after the company like
Right.
Bethlehem or Kohler,
Right.
but they were built around the industry and, frankly, the loyalty that the individuals had. And one of the things I'm facing as a Gen Xer is and we see it a lot, is the ageism factor and a lot of the things that my generation's facing. And I'm not saying that there hasn't always been some form of ageism, but you see that loyal disconnect there. And I think part of that, honestly, can be attributed to work-life balance, that we've balanced those things out in our lives to the point where we've driven a stake between the company and us to where it's all anonymous now. And you've got people that have worked for a company for 20 years and they're being laid off and escorted out to their car. What is up with that? I mean, that's just crazy. And you can say, well, we've changed the way we've prioritized our humanity, the way we treat each other. But I have to think some of that has to do with that severe separation we've tried to build into the process. And I have no psychological evidence of that as a PhD and somebody that's supposed to, back up what I say with my research. But it's just a gut feeling that I have, that's kind of where things have gone.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think that there's just, everybody's in such a hurry.
Right.
Everybody's in such a hurry these days. It's just to it's like slow down. Time's the only thing we can't get back. So one of the reasons that I decided to continue this whole operations journey, right, and work with systems and technology, and is because I genuinely want people to use automation, use AI, use technology, use better systems, simplified systems to give them back more time. It's the only thing we can't get back. And you know this, you have grandkids. The more you spend working and working and working, and I get it. Again, guys, if you're listening, do you. If you want to be somebody who hustles 24 hours a day, awesome. You do it. If that's what your thing is, fine. You do that. That's fine. But for the rest of us who actually want to enjoy our life, and what's the point of building a business or building making a whole bunch of money in corporate America, if you're not going to spend it and you're not going to enjoy your life? If going to work is what you want to do, I guess do that. But for most of us, we want to be able to enjoy it and do something. So that's where, for me, when I listen to you talk about balanced life and business, and that's how I see operations, right? What can I do? What can I put into people's businesses to help them get back 10 hours a week? Help them get back 20 hours a week, right? How can I make that CEO, make that owner, founder of this smaller business still be able to take time off and go hang out with his grandkids on a Tuesday afternoon? That's the goal, right?
Well, and I particularly appreciated I think it was this morning's post that I know I made a comment on about all these things that we try to do to automate our lives, and we're actually creating more distractions in some ways. Like it was the zero inbox, concept, and you end up focusing more on the zero inbox than you do on the actual emails you're having to deal with. And I have always used. I've never been much of a motivational speaker kind of person, like a Tony Robbins kind of individual. Yeah. And my dean at my first college of business that I ever taught in, who became a really good friend of the family, he was a big time management guy. And he used to go around and do workshops and lectures on time management. And he was really into this 70s dude named Alan Lakin, who was kind of a time management guru.
Yes!
You know Alan Lakin?
Yes, yeah. I've read so much of his stuff. He's so cool. Okay.
Yeah, he was kind of the OG time management guy from back in the 70s and 80s. And so when I really got into this stuff was I asked Denny, my dean, my friend, to come in and talk to a class that I was teaching on personal marketing. It's exactly what it sounded like, was all resumes and how do you market yourself personally. And I thought time management is a huge component of that. So I actually asked him to come in and give a talk. And, the two big takeaways for me were Alan Laken's now fairly famous saying, what's the best use of my time right now, when you're cluttered and you don't know what else to do at this point. But then the second thing I got out of that, and this is old school, he's talking about hard mail, but the inbox concept of look at it once, deal with it, or delete it or throw it away in the garbage, whatever. And so, I've always used sort of a one screen inbox. So, if I have a 24-inch monitor in my office, for example, I try to keep my email contained to just that screen so I don't have to scroll. Yep. And that's sort of what I just sort of loosely work by as a rule. I don't fixate on it. And I certainly don't always achieve that goal. But like you said, we end up creating more distractions for ourselves and end up cluttering up our lives even worse with all these, and I'll just call them gadgets. They're not really gadgets, but they're like all these little fads and gadgets that we come up with to try to, again, achieve that work-life balance thing, that just we shouldn't worry about it.
I have a folder system, and you can do this in Gmail. You can do it in Outlook. You can pretty much do, all of the email tools out there these days, or, whatever, you have the ability to filter and have the ability to create these automations into folders, right? Create a folder system. The folders are like the important things. These are the things that you absolutely have to look at every day. My clients, my family, bills, whatever, like vendors that I have to pay. These are all the things that I have to look at. And then I have like a section for my, not mentors, but like people that I'm following, like creators and stuff like that, like their newsletters that I like to read because they actually bring me value. Everything gets a folder, everything gets filtered into the folder, and I look at that. And anytime I actually have it hidden, like, so it goes down and shrinks to like nothing. And the only time it expands is when there's a new thing in there. I go down through it every morning, click the things that I need to read. It shrinks up. I shut my email. And unless my team tells me, unless somebody like you were to say to me, Tom, like I sent you an email, and I open my inbox, I go look for it, whatever. I shut my email down. Right. I don't even open it at lunch. I don't open my email until after 6 o'clock. Right. And so I tell people, I hate email. Do not email. Do not email me. Message me on LinkedIn, message me on Slack, like whatever. If you email me, you're literally going to have to send me a second notification telling me that you emailed me, because I'm not going to check it. It is a waste of my time to sit in there, because I'm like everybody else. First of all, total geek, software junkie, right? Like I sign up for free trials all day long, all the time, every day, right? Like, so I'm getting bombarded with emails and whatever. And of course, I have ADHD, so I'll sign up for a free trial, and I'll have it, like, it won't charge me, but I always forget to unsubscribe from the email, so then I just get email after email, and I'm like, oh, I don't even use that anymore. Like 2 years later, I'm like, unsubscribe. Because who cares? If your email sits there and fills up with, ridiculous amounts of emails, who cares? I'm also a data person, right? So for me, my inbox that you were talking about, so my main inbox is all the important stuff, and then all of the other things get filtered into promotions and social and all that other crap. But my main inbox, I don't delete anything. I'm a huge data person. You don't delete data. If there's ever a time, if you ever need it again and you delete it, then you're screwed, right? It's just, that is an old data thing that I had, I've had it come back to bite me in the ass before. So I just don't delete it. So I would much rather just leave it all there, put it in my little folders, and it's just too much. It's just too much. But if I ever do need to find something, I can search for it. So,
well, and I even think about LinkedIn. I was out walking the dog this morning thinking about this, that every once in a while, well, I'll back up a second. So when you first get on LinkedIn and you first become very active, there's a lot of people that are in the know that will, recommend that you curate a list of people to follow that are sort of in your space. So if you're into time management or systems or whatever you're into, AI, whatever it is, curate a list of people in your space to follow. And, the reality is, without getting too harsh, there's a lot of sycophants and navel gazers out there within those spaces. And a lot of the content that gets posted on some of those sites, these influencers, just doesn't resonate with you. And all it does is create distractions for you. And I've found personally, in fact, I'm going to go through this exercise this weekend. I usually do it once a month. I purge my following list, not my follower list, but my following list. I purge who I'm following. I look at their content. And I mean, honestly, there's people that are influential in the spaces that I'm in that just annoy the hell out of me. I'm not going to lie. I mean, some of the stuff they post is just toxic or annoying or whatever, or just lacks information. And they might have a 5-figure following. So you get 1,000 people that like everything they do, regardless of what they post. And it just gets annoying. So, I mean, I'll go through and purge those folks.
And even if you do the model that they say where like, then you're supposed to go, like you're supposed to go and try to follow their followers. If you don't like their content, why would you want to go after the followers that are following their content?
Well,
so I totally get it. I do LinkedIn differently than, and this is a great segue into the other thing I wanted to talk to you about, because I do LinkedIn completely different than most people. I first of all, I don't even look at my impressions or my reach. Like I had somebody ask me the other day, have you noticed that this is down? And I'm like, no. They're like, really? And I'm like, yeah, because I don't look at it. I don't care. The less that I look at the dopamine hits, the how many followers did I get this week? How many this? Like how many that? Like my God! Like again, it's another distraction, and does it really matter? Do you really need 100,000 followers on LinkedIn, 50,000 followers on LinkedIn? Is it going to affect your business that much? Right. So it's for us, my answer is no, because what I use LinkedIn for, and it's even different. Like when people say, well, I use it for networking. Well, so do I, but I use it for actual networking. I am building my inner circle. I have my inner circle of people that I am connected with on a daily basis. I am in a community with them. I mean, even before I was in a community with them, these are people that I look to as mentors. These are people that I want to get in the room with, because we all know if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room. I don't want to be in the room with 10,000 people that are either at my level or below my level. I want to be in this room over here with the people who are smarter than me, that have already been where I want to go, and I want to ask them questions. So what do? I get myself into those rooms, and then I kind of, I work for them. I do stuff for them for free. Mm-hmm. Why? Because I want to show them how awesome I can be for them. And then I want them to let me ask them questions. Like, here, no, it's fine. I'll just do this for you. Like, let me show you how to do it. And it works. And then those people, because you're providing such amazing value to them, you're bringing them value, you're giving them back time in their life. And then they turn around and say, oh, yeah, you should talk to Meghan about operations and systems. Or, oh, you just need a quick automation? Go talk to Meghan. She can help you out.
Right.
That's how you use LinkedIn. It is so much more powerful than trying to send 100 DMs. And I get it. So many people are going to poo-poo me for this. But that's just how I do it. And if that doesn't work for you, that's fine. Everybody does it differently. I don't want to spend my life doing sales calls. I don't want to spend my life DMing people and sending cold email. I just don't want to do that. Like, that's just not who I am. That's not where I want to be. I want to do more stuff like this. I love having conversations with people. I love this podcast because I get to bring on people like yourself who maybe are not like necessarily directly in my niche. I hate that word, by the way, but we are, right? Like, we're talking about the same type of things. And, you know, maybe you bring back some things that I say to your students, right? Like, it doesn't have to, LinkedIn doesn't have to be a job. Like, it really doesn't. It can be enjoyable if you let it. You can meet people and actually have awesome conversations with them.
And it doesn't have to be a storefront either. I mean, I think too many people look at LinkedIn, too many people treat LinkedIn like Shopify. You know, like it's some storefront where you're going to be selling your lifestyle goods or whatever. And I'm really big. So I'm really big on moments of clarity. I love moments of clarity. I love those moments in your life, and they're not often. Sometimes they're just every once in a while where the light bulb really goes off. And one of the things where the light bulb really went off for me in the last month or so, I've been really active on LinkedIn for almost 3 years now. And I started looking at my feed, and I understand the algorithm does this, on purpose. But you start looking at your feed, or you start looking at all the people that you engage with a lot, and they're all first and second degree. There are no third degrees in there.
Right.
And if people don't understand what I mean by that, the first and second degrees are either the people you're connected with or the people that are connected with your connectors, right?
Yep.
The third degrees are the ones you're not really connected with at all. And you start looking through that list of people, and you're not seeing any of these third degree connections, and you just realize, I'm in an echo chamber here. This is a total echo chamber. We're all just circulating the same information between all of us. So, I mean, I actively started going out and looking for third degree.
For new people.
Folks to deal with. And you know what? It's not easy. It is not easy to go out on LinkedIn and find people that you have absolutely zero connection with whatsoever, even though you know they're out there, because there's, I don't know how many billion LinkedIn users there are now. I think there's 3 billion or some crazy thing like that, or I don't even know. But they're out there, but they don't make it easy for you to find, because it's just not, and that's just the way it's designed, unfortunately.
Yeah, and the biggest thing, one of the things too, is you should be working on creating a list off of LinkedIn. And I'm not even talking, the reason that everyone talks about, emails or newsletter lists or something like that is because it's easier. I just talked about this not that long ago. It's easier to get an email from someone than it is like a phone number, right? But if LinkedIn goes away tomorrow, what are you going to do? How are you going to contact people? Like, how are you going to stay in touch with them? So the goal is to not spend thousands of hours on LinkedIn. The goal is to make LinkedIn this type of funnel, like way up here, and then try to get people into your world off of LinkedIn so that you can continue the conversations off LinkedIn like this. Like we were having conversations, and I said, Andrea, like let's reach out to Tom, let's get him on the show, let's build a relationship outside LinkedIn, see how we can, work together, because this is where the real conversation happens. It's not going to be in the DMs.
Same token, it's suspicious too, because a lot of times when I get, not from you, but I get requests like this from other people, you instantly think, what are they trying to sell me? What's the pitch that's going to come down the pike after we get done engaging, Well,
so I have a funny funny take on that, because that's the other thing. I kind of ignore the DMs, which is totally, you're not supposed to do. I mean, I don't ignore them, but if you take LinkedIn for what it is right now, where people are just going to pitch slap you, people are going to come into the DMs and they're going to just, if you know that, if you go into your daily LinkedIn routine, knowing that that's going to happen, and it won't annoy you or affect you as much.
Right.
Like, just show up, do you, and then leave. Knowing full well that everybody is trying to sell you something. Like what? Just.
I actually laugh about it now.
Like, who cares?
Like, you can totally see it coming like a freight train. Like, all of a sudden, someone you've never heard of before or seen before likes or comments on about 30 of your posts from the past, 2 weeks, just out of the blue, all in one fell swoop. And I'll say to my wife, "Oh, here we go, it's coming." And sure enough, sure enough, within 10 minutes, you have a connection request waiting for you. And I've been stuck at below 1,900 followers. I finally got over 1,900 forever. It's been months that I've been stuck at around 1,800 to 1,900 followers. And part of that is because I've started rejecting about 85% of the connection requests that I get, because they just don't make any sense. And you know what's coming. As soon as you accept that connection request, you're going to get whacked right upside the head with a DM.
I feel you. we could go on our soapbox forever about that, but we won't. We're done with that. We beat that with it. Yeah, we're done. But I do want you to tell everybody where they can find you, obviously on LinkedIn, but where they can find you, where they can follow along with your journey, where they can check out your content, and what's the best way to contact you if they want to reach out.
Yeah, just find me on LinkedIn. I mean, like I was telling you earlier, it's hard to miss this face. So you can look for me in my profile photo. I'm the one that sort of pushes the 100% life concept, and that's kind of my own thing. And I've been on LinkedIn for about 3 years, and I'm not a very disciplined poster as far as my content is concerned. I'm kind of all over the place. I like to post about entrepreneurship primarily, but I've even started posting some funny satirical stuff in the afternoons, like something that I see that just makes me laugh or whatever. I'll put something up or to try to get somebody's goat a little bit in a good way, you know, just try to have a little bit of fun with LinkedIn instead. Everything is so serious all the time. And I like content producers like John Kraske and people like that put up some really funny, you know, just laugh out loud kind of posts that you're not expecting, and they're totally putting you on, but it's in a good way, you know. So I do a little bit of that stuff. If you want to reach out to me, I do answer the legit DMs. It's not like I don't reply to DMs. I do. DM me. You know, I do the coaching thing on sort of a side basis. I wouldn't call myself a professional coach. I love working with entrepreneurs and trying to help them, you know, sort of focus in on what their business model looks like. I'm really big on value propositions. I'm working on something exciting right now. I've actually developed a methodology for developing systems. So it's basically a system for systems, and I call it Core 4. And so I'm working on that, and hopefully I'll have some kind of class deliverable down the road in the next few months. I've been crazy busy lately, so it's been something I've been just dabbling with at night. But one of the things I see is we talk about systems a lot. You talk about it. I talk about it. A lot of people talk about it. But a lot of small business people don't know how to build a system. Like they do things every day that they don't really put meaning to, and they don't realize how important they are. And so what I've tried to do is I've tried to develop a system that's easy to follow, where people can take those things that they do every day that their customers appreciate or their employees appreciate or whatever, just makes their life easier, and actually turn them into a system. And then once they do that, you can actually feed all that information into AI, into ChatGPT or Perplexity or whatever, and actually have it create you an operations manual for your business. So sort of that E-Myth, Michael Gerber concept of having that operations manual, that's a really overwhelming prospect for a lot of small business people. They're already up to their eyeballs trying to run their venture.
Man, SOPs and operating manual, like SOPs are so important. We talk about it all the time. I mean, and I can tell you right now, we spend hours creating SOPs. I do them with Loom and Loom AI and then create the SOPs, but it is very time consuming. But if you have them, it makes your life so much easier to train other people if you're bringing people onto your business, or just yourself, just to have it there if you forget how you did something, right? Like it's just such a good thing to have. But we are at time, but we'll drop all of your information in the show notes so people will be able to just click to your LinkedIn and stuff like that. But I highly encourage all of you to go check out Tom's stuff because he's very cool. He's got some really cool stuff that he's been talking about, as you can tell from this episode. And remember, guys and girls and all you people out there, that technology is only good when it works. And we will see you next week. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.